And what you said there as well touched upon like another mistake that I see coaches doing, which is like not maintaining that clarity on what really does drive them. And a bit like how you said, like our our niche will evolve over time. I also feel like our primary drivers, like they also may like twist and shift and change a little bit, but we want to kind of like keep it in our sights, in terms of like, why am I really doing this? Like, what am I showing up for? Why is this important? Because if we're not keeping that in some way front of mind, when we get tired, when we're maybe not getting the clients we want, like maybe the cash flow's looking kind of patchy, we get like a few rejections, or things happen, right? And our confidence may get knocked, and then we may get those voices that come in like, see, you said you'd never do it, and like you can't make it, or whatever will happen internally. The fears, doubts, and worries can get really loud. And it's at times like that we want to pause and recenter ourselves and practice thinking like, why am I even doing this? To anchor really deep into that. Because there were moments like early on in my coaching journey, because I also started in the summer of 2019, and then obviously it's the pandemic by like the March 2020. And on one hand, because of the connections I had and knowledge around supporting people's mental health in the workplace, meant that actually I had a lot of work on, because people were really struggling with their mental health. I was still finding my feet with my own coaching. And I remember having like, some really challenging moments, because the pandemic was challenging at points personally. And then I was also like still trying to grow my business, and having these moments of just like, it all felt like so much. And it's of those moments of like, literally being like crying on the floor, like, I can't do this, having those moments, and then being like, then the next morning kind of picking myself back up again and reminding myself like, hey, it's all part of the journey to have these big wobbly moments. And like, but the thing is I was super clear, I am not going back. Like the only way is forward. I have burnt the boats in the bay. So I can pause here and there and like crumble and have a big cry. I'm definitely a crier, and it's a way stress leaves my body. So have a big cry, get it out, and then be like, okay, like what do I need to help myself ground and recenter, and then to like lift myself back up again. So clear on those primary drivers is so incredibly important, like those bigger goals, those bigger visions, the ways in which we know we help people, like, and to focus on others. Like if that also helps me when I'm feeling like lost or low, to almost forget about myself and remember who I've helped and served and the changes I've made, and be like, okay, so like go and do more of that, like rather than being in a little pity party for one.
Yeah, and that goes back to something we talked about before, which was action. Action will light the path, even if you don't know what the action is. Like, and like let's get a little bit practical here. Like maybe we can talk to coaches about like some ways to think about, like, say they're doing social media, right? Let's say they're doing, what would be like should they be doing 3 buckets of social media? Should they just be saying what they feel every day? Like what let's say we're posting on a like LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. They're wherever they are, like, how would you guide them to like get them to think about being consistent with social media? Like, what would they think about? What's a great framework they can use? Okay, if I just do this, and it doesn't have to be perfect, maybe something that you can give them makes it easier.
Yeah, sure. Firstly, like you said earlier, I think like agreeing with ourselves a certain level of consistency. So maybe it's like, if it's on LinkedIn, say maybe posting once a week, like start that as the beginning. Don't do like 3 times a week if you've not been posting at all, because you're going to freak yourself out and overwhelm yourself. So it's like, start nice and simple, once a week. 2 things come to mind. One is thinking about your own process for capturing content. Now, I'm a big fan of WhatsApping myself. And if you don't know, you can. You can send yourself WhatsApp messages.
Yeah.
But you can also email yourself. Just find some way of tagging things so it's easy to find. But I often will invite my clients to reflect on like, where do they get their best ideas, right? And now chances are people are thinking about their businesses quite a lot of the time and just naturally reflecting. So say if you get your ideas when you're like out for a walk, or taking the dog around the block, or going for a drive. Be careful using your phone though. Like capture those ideas, right? Even if it's just in the supermarket, just WhatsApp yourself. Like I do this all the time. Send myself like little chunks of information. And then I would say sit down like every 2 or 3 days or once a week to like just go through those ideas. Find a process that works for you. Is it, say, one Google Doc to rule them all? Is it like a Google spreadsheet? Is it a note on your phone? Somewhere where you're kind of capturing that. So you have a repository basically of content. You have something you can check in. So you're not sat there thinking, I've got to post on LinkedIn. Briony said I need to post on LinkedIn. And you're just sat there just looking at a blank screen going like, I don't know. Right. So start to do that. Start to collect ideas as you go. So you've got a repository. And then in terms of like a bit of a process, I have not with me right now, but at home I've got my my whiteboard, and on that I have my goal, my like bigger vision for my life, like looking more at a 5 and 10 year vision. And then I've got my goals. I have my values written out, and then for my values I have my products and services. And then from that I'm like, okay, so what am I selling, right? And I would say we want to try to tune in to what is the strategy behind what I'm posting, right? We don't want to just make noise for the sake of it. And we want to try to practice having a bit of a blend of, say, like talking about our life, like what we're up to, sharing things of value, either inspiration or like educating people about things. We also want to like motivate and inspire, so you're actually maybe sharing from your own journey or like client wins. You're showing people social proof. That's also really important. And then also selling, so occasionally like letting people know, and you can do some storytelling and then selling. Like I'm a big fan of that. And there's can talk in a moment about different content frameworks that I use for that. But I would say that get some clarity about like the strategy and the vision for your own business, and like have that written out somewhere that you can see. And then broadly speaking, start to think of, okay, what are some topics that you like talking about, but that also fit inside your business, right? So if you're like super into badminton, great, but maybe don't just keep talking about badminton unless you're a badminton coach. So like try to make sure that you're entering some of your humanness into your content. So I'll post content in me like cold water dipping or barefoot hiking, because those are the things that I do. But then I also talk about my coaching. So it's like, let your humanness and your hobbies be seen, make yourself real, but then try to be strategic as well about making sure if you've got a workshop coming up, or there's a coaching program you're going to launch, you want to be talking about that with repetition. So be consistent, be strategic, have clarity on your own business, and then start to think about some like regular content themes that maybe you want to keep touching upon that fit inside of that vision.